Slasher fans rejoice. There's a new kid on the block. The chopping block, that is.
Welcome to Pizowell Home Video.
In a Violent Nature has been one of my most anticipated movies of the year ever since I first saw the trailer. It's been called an art house Friday the 13th, the highbrow Friday the 13th, ASMR for slasher fans. In other words, it's been billed as every long-suffering Friday the 13th fan's bloody wet dream come true. But this isn't your standard slasher. In a Violent Nature is primarily told through the third-person perspective of the killer. You're practically watching over his shoulder as he stalks and slaughters his prey. It's pretty obvious where writer and director Chris Nash drew inspiration for In a Violent Nature. We get a campfire story that establishes the killer's lore. The killer's name, by the way, is Johnny, Jason, and Johnny supposedly died as a boy, but he keeps coming back. In fact, just about every time I noticed a Friday the 13th-ism, I couldn't help but smile. And needless to say, I spent a good deal of this movie smiling. We even get a pseudo Part 6 Jason Lives Tommy Jarvis kind of character, although he's nowhere near as effective as Tommy Jarvis. The cannon fodder characters here, despite being paper thin and pretty much interchangeable, are just obnoxious enough. I mean, they talk about cancel culture, and one character is accused of toxic masculinity. So yeah, I couldn't wait to watch them die. But make no mistake, Johnny is the star of the show, and what separates this movie from really any other slasher we've ever seen is the fact that it follows Johnny around, third-person style, for most of the time. This is a slasher where we follow the slasher. We get to see how he hunts and even how he thinks. Johnny can be quite cunning at times. He can also be quite human. In fact, there's a great scene where we break away from the third-person vantage of Johnny, and we get to see that there's still some humanity left in him before it's back to business. And Johnny's business? Let's just say he likes to get his hands dirty. Now, I've heard tales of people getting physically ill while watching In a Violent Nature. That's a bit of a stretch, I think, but we are subject to a couple of pretty graphic, drawn out, and really cool kills. One kill in particular had the audience I saw the film with audibly gasp and cringe. Another kill that involved a log splitter is so drawn out that it was almost uncomfortable to watch. However, one of the best kills in the movie isn't graphic at all. It's practically Hitchcockian, all setup and anticipation. Technically, the movie looks great. We get plenty of beautiful cinematography, interesting angles, such as an overhead shot following Johnny as he does his thing, and there's lots of long continuous takes, not just of Johnny walking through the forest, but following Johnny as he stalks, sets up, and dispatches his quarry. On the downside, some of the walking through the forest scenes go a bit too long. I think they could have easily cut a few minutes out of the walking through the forest scenes just for pacing's sake. And the ending. The ending will be controversial, I do believe. I loved seeing Lauren Marie Taylor from Friday the 13th Part 2, and she does have significant screen time, but I get what they were doing here, and I get what they were trying to say, but this scene alone feels like it's about an hour long. There's some decent suspense because you're waiting for something to happen. Spoiler alert, nothing does. And yes, nature is cruel, and sometimes animals kill just to kill, but Johnny wasn't just killing to kill. So there's also this real-time kind of vibe going on here, where during all the long walking scenes with Johnny, that's supposed to be when the characters are doing what characters typically do in slashers. You know, smoke dope, try to get laid, argue, the usual stuff. Only all that's happening off screen. So I guess this sequence with the final girl is kinda the reverse of that. It doesn't ruin the movie for me, but I'd rather the perspective have stayed with Johnny. It was also a little bittersweet watching this movie because as much as it reminded me of Friday the 13th, which definitely made me happy, it also reminded me of what a mess that franchise has been in for the past 15 years. and how there could have been so much great Friday the 13th stuff during that 15 years that didn't happen. Aside from the video game, of course, and because so much of this movie is shot in Johnny's third-person perspective, it did also kind of remind me of Friday the 13th, the game. Overall, I had a blast with In a Violent Nature. It's definitely one of my favorite movies of this year. Yes, it is an art house slasher, but it's an art house slasher that's not too highfalutin to be gruesome. And major props to Chris Nash for making a slasher movie feel fresh and new. If we ever get a new Friday the 13th movie, he should get first crack at it. I think we have the makings of a great new horror villain here with Johnny. I dig his look. I dig the fact that there's some depth to the character. I just dig his style. That being said, I don't think I'd be interested in a sequel. I don't want to see Johnny in a standard slasher and trying to do the third person thing again. I just don't know if it would work. If you've seen In a Violent Nature, please let me know your thoughts on the film down in the comments section below. And if you'd be interested in a sequel or a potential In a Violent Nature franchise, let me know down below. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up and share it on social media. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. A huge thank you to all my patrons and channel members for your generosity and support. Become a patron today and get early access to videos, have a say in what content appears on my channel, join me for monthly live streams, exclusive watch parties, and more. Become a channel member today and get access to exclusive badges and emotes to use when I stream, as well as members-only watch parties. Both those links are in the description. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.